So there's a auxiliary communications manager, and in their course, we kind of jump back and forth to things that hams would be doing, support, and we also dabble in what the responsibilities of that auxiliary communications manager. And by the way, it's already been put on an org chart that the auxiliary communications manager under the communications unit leader for the Oklahoma City Marathon will be Mark Klein. Okay, so anyway, that's what that ACM is. And that could answer directly to the COML, since communications, dispatching, and that is all, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm the COML, I'm going to have the OXCOMs working with the dispatchers and theoretically under the administrative chain of command of the INCM, but that's not a big deal. Okay, so with every one of those courses I just talked about, you have prerequisites, you have training, you get a certificate that you've done your training, and then if you want to have state level certification in your state that says you're qualified to be requested by the state to be deployed somewhere, and your agency blesses you to do that. And when they bless you to do that, what does that mean? They probably cover your workman's comp, which is a big deal liability-wise. Okay, moving right along. We studied the ICS structure. We talked, a lot of the stuff in the OXCOM class is kind of a snapshot of what goes in the tactical dispatch class, getting set up and working out there. The difference in operability and interoperability, linking with other systems, and how that works in the real world out there. And yes, we talk about ICS forms. And we have the OXCOM radio operator that's running a net. They're going to fill out logs, the same kind of logs that tactical dispatcher fills out, because all of that becomes part of the documentation after a disaster for FEMA. See, FEMA can't, back up, the federal government can't tell a sheriff or a police chief, you will use ICS when bad things happen in your agency, in your jurisdiction. You will use ICS when you organize public safety at the OU home games. They can't force you. But what they can do is say, oh, by the way, if you want reimbursement from FEMA for damages after that disaster, all your documentation of how you handle the response will be ICS process and forms. Okay. Not only that, there's other people that know about ICS. They are lawyers. They are special lawyers that represent the spouses of killed firefighters and police officers. And when something like that happens at a major event, those lawyers will come in and they know how things were supposed to be organized, and that'll be a big part of the liability suit. I'm just saying. A big part of what the communications unit leader does at an incident or planned event is the comms plan. What channels are we going to use? Who's going to be on it? That's what an ICS 205 form is. It's channel assignments. One of the things that happens with HAMs supporting emergency management and public safety agencies is those hams quickly, the administration figures out what they're good at, what they can do that ain't just ham. It's maybe helping the ComL actually build that comms plan, including the public safety channels. So yes, we teach as part of your behavior, stay in your lane, do what you're told to do, and so forth. But again, it's like anything else. When you see people have talent and they work it, they may be helping with other stuff. Okay? And there's a whole chapter on setting up the Instant Communications Center and helping the ComL, helping the INCM set that up so that everybody's not sitting on top of each other. The ICCs get crowded real quick. I set up, I was really green with the police department doing comm stuff, and I helped set up at the Myriad Convention Center. Some of you will remember that name. And it was either a president or vice president that was coming to town, and I helped set up a little radio dispatch operation in a room in the building. How much room do you need? Well, we're only going to have 2 people on the radios. The lesson I learned that day is if you need this much room for 2 people at a table,
Double it?
Oh yeah, at least double it for all the crap they carry. And they got some weird shaped Pelican cases that I don't even know what's inside those things. They're Secret Service. And the ACM's role, that Auxiliary Communications Manager, we talk about that. Resources, just some of the things that are available to public safety communications during disasters and so forth. But here's one of the favorite chapters. The bottom line is this whole course is about 2 things: how hams operate in the ICS environment and how to behave. So the largest mobile communications exercise in the United States is now held every 2 years up in northeast Oklahoma, I-44 and the Missouri border. It's called the Downstream Casino. It's about the size or bigger than the Grand down toward Shawnee. And the driveway is in Missouri. The parking lot is in Kansas. And the casino and conference space is in Oklahoma. Got to get a grant for that. Anyway, and so this year, over 400 participants. A lot of people are trainees that are there to participate in the exercise and get task book stuff signed. But it's a heck of an operation, and trust me, there's fancy $1.5 million rigs. There's simple 20-foot trailers. There's a Missouri Salvation Army Saturn ham group that have participated all 4 years this has happened now. And they were there this year with more hams. And they spread them out among the way the whole exercise was divided. The way it was divided was pick 3 vehicles and their crew and assign people to that with a controller evaluator. My fellow controller evaluator and I had 18 folks, and 3 of them were these Salvation Army hams that had been spread around there. Most of them apparently had not operated in the public safety environment, and this is why I'm talking about it on this bullet. So we're standing out there with a radio guy from I forget what agency, and they were talking about their fancy Motorola radio and blah, blah, blah. And this guy said, and I quote, and he was holding his radio, we do not use those radios. Our radios work when those don't. Okay? You think he'll be invited back next year? Okay, we don't need that attitude because we don't need that attitude. That's just the bottom line. And if you think about it from the reality standpoint, he had no clue what was in that radio. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a multiband radio. You could have even had some VHF ham simplex and repeaters in that radio. But, you know, let's wait. Things have changed. Years ago, public safety agencies and emergency management didn't have much stuff to go set up from scratch in the field. Hams did. Hams did and could do a really good job of it. Still can. That's what you do field day. That's what you do POTA, et cetera, right? But public safety and emergency management has come a long way with this equipment too. So this works when nothing else works. Okay, well, wait a minute. You got a fire department in a rural area that's got a repeater, VHF repeater, and they got their VHF radios. You got the hams in that area that have a VHF repeater and they got their radios. Now the tornado comes along. If it takes out the public safety one, the hams still work, and hopefully the public safety people can stand up something to get back on the air to whatever degree they can. But what if the hams repeater is the one that gets knocked out first? They're going to be scrambling also. So I mean, what is that today? Hams today, with how we've come along with technology, have some technology, namely WinLink, that's extremely valuable to emergency management and public safety. So we're focusing on those kinds of things that hams bring to the table when everything hadn't necessarily failed, but it's icing on the cake for some of those things it can do. And